Hey guys, welcome back for another review, and today we'll be reviewing the highly anticipated Transformers Rise of the Beasts. I'm here with Atlanta Guy 34, who has also joined me in watching the movie.
Hey guys.
There's so much to talk about when it comes to this flick, especially considering the fact that it's been 5 to 6 years since we had ourselves a Transformers movie that is released in theaters, and not just a re-release, because last year we had the first movie. Whereas here, we get ourselves a new entry to the series.
Mm-hmm.
And just as a warning, we'll be discussing this with full spoilers. So if you have not seen it, what's wrong with you? Go ahead and see it right now. But if you have, then let's continue with the review.
All right.
So, what do you think of the movie?
I really liked it. There were some things that I enjoyed, such as I love the characters. I like how there is more focus on the Transformers, and there's a decent balance between stuff with the Transformers and the humans. The humans were, pretty good, as they tend to be, although there are sometimes some exceptions, but not here. Not here. All of our human leads are pretty good. I like some of the references. When you see Scourge claim a trophy by ripping logos off of like Ape Link and Bumblebee. You see a bunch of other logos on his shoulder where he keeps them. Not only do you see Autobot and Maximal symbols, but you also see Decepticons and Predacons as well. So definitely shows what he's been up to, and also establishes that the Predacons are also in this movie, even though they aren't. But maybe that's what more movies are for. They're always pumping these things out.
Yeah, but thankfully at a much slower rate.
Yeah.
Marvel and DC. But as for my opinion on the movie, I think it is a slam dunk overall. It feels like we're back to the good old days of making movies based on this universe. There's less of a approach in trying to make a cinematic universe. It's more just like, here's a new story. Here's a good one. I'm sure you'll like it. You already mentioned that the fact that the humans and the robots get equal attention, and I gotta agree. It feels nice that it's not just Optimus Prime and Bumblebee get all the spotlight. I mean, I like them, but even then, some other characters deserve as much spotlight as they do.
Yeah, and I enjoyed how Mirage is the Autobot that we get the most focus on out of all of them. We still get some decent time with Prime, Bumblebee, RC, and even Wheeljack, but primarily it's Mirage, and it's pretty good. I wasn't sure about having Pete Davidson of all people as Mirage, but he did a good job.
I agree.
Did a very good job. Yeah. I don't know. Pete Davidson's not exactly someone I would think to voice a Transformer, but then again, if Johnny Knoxville can be Leonardo from Ninja Turtles, then anything is fucking possible.
I do remember the fact that, on the day we first heard that he will be voicing Mirage in one of the trailers, the community post was kind of freaking out when I said that I'm not too familiar with Pete Davidson or wasn't, his biggest fan. They were like, oh my god, how can you not like this guy? But it's like, I don't know. I haven't met this guy yet. I don't know what he's like. And
unless you watch SNL, you're probably not going to be familiar with Pete Davidson.
Yeah, I don't always watch SNL unless there's the occasional skit like Natalie Portman's rap, but
exactly.
But apart from that, he did a great job as Mirage. He's no longer going to be seen as Dino, but hey, we can always pretend that he is Dino's biggest fan.
Since he survives, he could still become Dino. I don't know.
I kind of found it funny that made this meme where Mirage was a Sonic fan, and Dino, on the other hand, is a Mario fan by comparison. With
and what do the brothers call each other?
Sonic, Tails, and now Mirage is Knuckles.
Exactly.
It's kind of a cute little reference. Yeah. It doesn't, feel like something that would actually make the film an automatic 10 out of 10, but it at least shows the fact that Nolan and his brother care about each other no matter what. It's a pretty good Easter egg. And also it makes me excited to see Sonic the Hedgehog 3 come out soon.
Yeah.
But apart from Mirage, who is also Porsche's time, which I also got to find funny that he turned into a F1 Formula race car, and I'm pretty sure that got so many fans irritated that say, oh, he should have been this the whole time.
Yeah, but he's also a Lambo and a garbage truck, so it's like it's fine. And plus, outside of Optimus and Bumblebee, most of the other Autobots are different cars or whatever compared to what they originally were, and that's always been a thing. Even alternators did that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Just make it work.
I do find it funny in Final Tech that Sideswipe is still Lambo despite turning into a Viper.
Kind of ironic how that works. Alternators was a mess.
Yeah.
But speaking of the other characters, we already know about Optimus Prime and Bumblebee by this point. But I will say that Optimus Prime, Bonaventura, I think I mispronounced his name, was always saying that Optimus Prime is going to change in this film from being how he was in Bumblebee to being more how he'll be in 2007. And you can definitely see that there, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
I kind of feel like his appearance in Bumblebee, rather, was like a bit, it was like, oh, we got to put in like Optimus Prime there to kind of showcase Cybertron. But he kind of felt like he was like, hey guys, I'm here. I look G1. How's your day going, by the way? Whereas in this movie, it's like, man, I feel bad for doing what I've done. I got to keep my people safe, but at the same time, Cybertron, my home, is fucked in the ass right now by the Decepticons.
Don't you mean what I've done?
Oh my god. It's kind of like a good way of showcasing Prime's changing character. People are probably going to be upset about the fact that he'll eventually become how he is in later films, but we got to keep in mind that this is
movie Optimus.
Yeah. In addition, this is meant to be showcasing, how this stuff changes, because war can fuck anyone over, and Prime is no exception in this universe, considering the fact that he's lost so many of his friends, and the people that he later grew to save from Earth will later turn against him.
Yeah.
So this was pretty much a good way of depicting the character as transitioning from his brief moment in Bumblebee to later on seeing him in 2007. We don't know what's going to happen after Rise of the Beast, though, but hopefully they keep things, consistent.
Yeah, and they definitely kept up with the consistency in this one as well, even down to wanting to tear Scourge's head off.
Exactly. Well, I was wanting to save that for later, but yeah, that was like the best way of showcasing that this is the same Prime that fans are either going to show a lot of praise for, or their G1ers are freaking out over it after their fan theories.
Yeah, you'd think they'd at least appreciate the fact that this one doesn't have flames, but what do I know?
This fan base is strange.
Very strange, yeah.
Bumblebee doesn't do a whole lot in this film, but then again, I guess he's done a lot in the past 6 movies. I guess he deserves a bit of a break.
Yeah, I think we're past the whole thing with Bumblebee. He's not bad, but I'm old enough to remember when the shelves were flooded with infinite number of Bumblebees, so he needs a break.
Yeah. I kind of expected him to come back anyhow, because we see him get killed by Scourge, and then in another trailer we see him jumping out of Stratosphere. So it's not like he's going to be going anytime soon, but I appreciate the fact that he didn't do as much, considering how we already know him by this point. We know he's going to come back. It's okay.
And plus, how the fuck else is 2007 supposed to happen?
I do find it weird that when he was revived, he got the sort of off-road gear. It's not bad. It looks cool.
It does, but it's... Yeah. I don't know, that's always been a thing in the franchise, and it's been weird in all the other pieces of media, and it's weird here too. Just I don't know.
Maybe Stratosphere had that ready for him.
Tendency.
Yeah, it happens. Though maybe
new armor. Oh, I'm Galvatron now.
Although maybe Stratosphere had it on standby just in case. Who knows?
Yeah.
Speaking of Stratosphere, he doesn't do as much in the movie, but that's fine.
He's in the background.
Yeah, he is kind of cool in a way, because his design kind of reminds me of a friend of Jetfire's mixed with Leadfoot's voice and facial hair that's comparable to Q's.
Yeah, except not as nightmarish.
And speaking of Q, here we have Wheeljack, or as people like to call him, Pablo. He's alright. I kind of found him very amusing, not as nerdy as I was expecting him to be.
Bill Jack, more like Wheel Juan.
Yeah, he did develop
Oh,
an accent,
terrible.
kind of like Hot Rod did in The Last Night. But he didn't seem to
His
mind.
life.
Yeah, I think Wheeljack's perfectly fine with the accent in comparison to Hot Rod. If Hot Rod actually found out about this, I think he'll try and convince Wheeljack desperately to reverse it.
Oh, madame, don't do that.
And there's also RC, who I think is my favorite version of the character in the movies in terms of design.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good mix of Energon influence and a really good face sculpt too. Like the one from Bumblebee looked kind of like a weird doll.
It did. It kind of did look like a sex doll version of RC.
Yeah, it looks so strange. And I know like the Revenge of the Fallen design, and by extension the intended design for the first movie were meant to look alien, but while I was fine with the first movie design, the Revenge of the Fallen version looked more like a drone by comparison.
Did, yeah.
Yeah, like, if I were to headcanon anything or add some extra lore, I'd say that the RC triplets are meant to be drones that RC would utilize just as a distraction so that she won't get herself killed that easily.
Yeah, since there's no character in any of them, but then again, we also don't even get to know them at all, so...
Yeah, we could just pretend they're drones. Kind of like a reverse role,
Yeah.
kind of like a reverse like faction position thing for Thrust and Beast Machines.
Yeah, I was thinking Beast Machine's Thrust as well.
Yeah, that'd be the perfect headcanon to do. Pay us, Paramount.
Exactly.
Pay us. And speaking of, like, since we already took care of the good guys, let's take a look at the bad guys. Scourge, for example.
Terracons.
Yeah, Terracons are great in this one.
First of all, I like how they use Terracons as an Energon reference, since the Terracons were the servants of Unicron, whether it's Dive Bomb, Battle Ravage, Krulok, and... Scorponok was a Terracon too, right?
I believe so. It's been a while since
Okay,
I've
yeah.
seen Energon, though.
That's also why you see those Scorponoks come from Unicron as well, because it's another Energon reference.
Yeah, it's
Yeah. Whereas, of course, Scourge is like a mix of G1 and RID.
he's a herald of Unicron like in G1, but he's an evil black truck, or more of a rusty one in this case, like an RID.
And he's also got his rivalry with Optimus Prime as well, like he did in RID.
And it's a pretty good rivalry too. Like, it doesn't feel quite as personal on a long-term note as with Megatron, but it does justify Prime's anger and wanting the bad guy truck dead after what he did to poor B.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
the whole fan theory thing was just like, just so weird. I mean, right off the bat, I always called bull on it because A, I kind of doubt that'd be the case, that Paramount would want to do something like that.
Yeah.
And B, it just felt less like a fan theory and more like desperate wishful thinking on fans that want to try and prove that this movie was like separate from the rest of the movies. I mean, even if it was, like, what would be the point of it if it's just going to piss off more fans?
Exactly. It makes you wonder who the hell this movie's for.
Luckily, it's made for everyone, well, except for the people that probably said that their fan theories didn't happen.
Yeah.
Just seeing Optimus like take Scourge's face away was like poetic justice.
Mm-hmm.
But Scourge's not alone in this one because he's got little freezers who are pretty much like frenzies, except they're much more of them overall. Sadly, they don't turn into weapons, which I wouldn't mind seeing if he turned into a gun.
Yeah, but then again, that might have just been a toy thing because they needed it to turn into something, right?
Yeah. Especially since like all the other characters have like their arms turned into cannons, even Optimus.
And plus, that's not even the first time we've ever had that when it comes to movie toys. The Fallen.
Nope. It's nothing new. but that's alright, I
Yeah.
guess. Everyone else was pretty good too. Battletrap is a big, chunky Decepticon tow truck, so he's kind of like Wrecker Hook.
Or just an evil long arm, since it's a 90s Top Kick tow truck, except it's orange instead of white and blue.
Yep. Being a Terracon in this case, it makes him different from a Decepticon. Like, I think he'd fit well as a Decepticon either way, but
Yeah, he would.
yeah. But the fact that he's a Terracon kind of showcases just how much corruption he probably faced as one of the last few of the future. I do remember there being like a picture of Battletrap's forehead with a Decepticon logo instead of a Terracon logo, so maybe that was something that was going to be there. Who knows?
Maybe.
It does like showcase the fact that he could be either way, and I wouldn't complain. But design is good.
Exactly.
He's not as prominent as Scourge, doesn't speak as much, but I do appreciate the fact that we get to see his weaponry, because that like Wrecking Ball was crazy as hell, especially his hook, even in vehicle mode.
Oh, exactly, yeah. Like, he was a force to be reckoned with.
And the fact that he used his like hook to cling on to Nightbird's spoiler, and Nightbird didn't like get ripped to pieces while she was driving fast, just so Battletrap can blast Wheeljack and RC. It kind of showcases that these guys are not screwing around.
Oh, no, they really aren't there to just, get beaten up like in movies past.
Yeah, these guys mean business. Especially since like they want to just be as prominent as Megatron, or in this case, the leader Scourge.
Exactly.
Nightbird is pretty cool too. I kind of wish we got to see her in her vehicle mode more often, but I guess she flies now.
Considering what she was in G1, she's still very ninja-like, it makes sense. It almost looked like Shatter. Is that just me?
She kind of does, but then again, Travis Knight said that he designed Shatter after Nightbird.
That's true, yeah, so...
So now we've gone full circle.
No kidding. I find it interesting that she turns into an R33 Skyline, which, like the movie, also debuted in 1994, but of course, the United States never saw the Skyline, but, they could have taken pictures of these vehicles in space or something.
Anything's possible. Although I will say, since we're talking about her flying, like, I felt like the way Murad said it felt like a bit of a jab towards the way it was said in Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
They fly now?
Yeah.
At least here it made more sense in terms of the way it was said, especially considering the fact that Mirage probably haven't seen a Decepticon car fly, or in this case, a Terracon.
No kidding.
And that's about it for the baddies. Apparently, there's going to be an appearance for Transit, who was shown in some of the marketing material, but was cut before the movie was released.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was the Decepticon bus who would have mocked Optimus by saying that Cybertron is being taken over by the Decepticons. Optimus gets upset, kills him, and he dumps his remains in the lake underneath one of the bridges where a bunch of other dead Decepticons remain. Apparently people saw that was too dark, so they cut it out, but luckily, because Stephen Capello Jr. doesn't want us to go #release a transit cut, he thought forward by thinking, alright, we're going to put this in a special edition bonus.
Yeah.
I don't mind either way if transit was going to be in it or not. I just found it amusing that he was not even marketed as much compared to Stratosphere.
Yeah, no kidding.
I would like to at least see how he would transform, considering the fact that he's a bus. But considering how buses aren't Transformers that often, if at all, I guess they're going to be best known for Bone Crusher tearing him in half on a highway.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I can't think of one bus former off the top of my head.
Me neither. But in contrast, there are plenty of animal formers, and speaking of, that leads us to the Maximals.
Yeah.
Optimus Primal is great. I like the fact that he is depicted less of a like how I normally see him in the Beast era, and more like a character who's inspired by Optimus full front.
Which sounds about right.
Ron Perlman voicing Optimus Primal. Well, it would have been cool to see like Gary Chalk voice the character instead. I do find that Perlman's voice does make sense in the context of this universe. He's a much more serious type of character, especially considering the situation that they're in, as being from a different planet altogether, rather than being a direct descendant of Optimus.
Was it better than the last time Ron Perlman played Optimus Primal?
The Prime Wars was a mess. Machinima is... yeah, I mean, Machinima rests in piss.
Oh, you're not alone.
And luckily, like, even in spite of their first encounter being a bit aggressive, Optimus Primal did not block Optimus Prime on social media. I don't know why Ron Perlman blocks people too much, but what do I know?
He's special.
Alright. But Primal itself is great. I like the fact that we see him as a more of a prominent leader. And even if he didn't transform as much, I do like the Beast Mode design a lot. A good mix of organic and mechanical.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, seeing the statue at Navy Pier was kind of mesmerizing because there's so much detail that's put into them, and you get a sense of just how like stoic and wise Primal is as a gorilla.
Yeah.
Cheetor and the other Maximals aren't as prominent. In fact,
Rhinox.
Yeah, Rhinox, poor Rhinox. He's there. Cool design, but I don't think he spoke as much, if at all. Cheetor did say a few lines, though, yeah. He was alright.
He was, yeah.
Ares, on the other hand, did a pretty good job of being, like, the second in command for the Maximals and having a bit of, like, a personal bond with Optimus Primal. I wouldn't say it's meant to be like them being, like, soulmates or having a crush on one another, but it feels more like they've been together for so long that they've seen how shit hits the fan for their kind.
Maybe they should have had Tigatron in there too.
Perhaps. She was a really good character. I like the fact that there was a statue that was named after her, which held a part of the Transwarp key. It did suck that she didn't transform, though.
Yeah, I wish we got to see her robot mode.
I can almost imagine, like, kind of like how the Maximals would each transform in a way that's more organic. I can almost imagine, like, Airazor's wings, like, curling together, covering her body while she would transform. Kind of like a bit of a, I don't know what the theme is, but angelic or, like, rejuvenation? It's kind of hard to find.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, but
plus,
otherwise...
You know,
she's
what
good.
Gonna say?
Otherwise, she's good.
Yeah.
Alright, as for the human characters, we got Noah involved, who kind of feels like a mix between Sam and, I guess, Charlie?
Yeah, it's both him and Charlie are kind of down on their luck, and coming across the Transformers is like their big break. And much like Sam, Noah gets very, very involved in the whole war overall, whereas Charlie gets involved with just Bumblebee's little squabble with Shatter and Dropkick.
I will say this about the way that the human protagonist is depicted here. It's nice if we get ourselves someone that's kind of involved in a bit of a, like, shady side, you know, pirating music and the like, whereas Sam was a good boy who was involved with just trying to get his life or his future set. Kate is just like a man who's dealing with being a single father and trying to keep everything afloat. And Charlie is just a someone that wants to have a bigger life.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like, whereas everyone else was mostly wanting a bigger life, Noah just wanted to have his family like in better shape, especially after hearing about his brother's illness on his hand.
Yeah, although they don't really explain the illness that much because, well, illness on the hand, like, well, what kind of illness? Like, he's turning evil? I didn't really explain that well, but no, I guess it's not the primary focus. No?
They at least showcase, like, the fact that he wants to get it cured as soon as possible, especially when he's wearing a suit, trying to get job interviews, and taking his brother to the hospital for treatment.
It's true, in the hospital, reminding him that his brother can't see the doctor because they've still got to pay off a lot of bills, which unfortunately is a sad reality.
Yeah.
But, yeah, what are you going to do?
As for the other human protagonist, Elena, she's kind of adorable in a way.
Yeah, she is.
She's got like this somewhat like enthusiastic approach in learning about history. Her coworker seems a bit more like cartoony in a sense, but
They are.
But by contrast, like Elena is much more engaged in what she's learning. I can almost imagine her having this interest in history, archaeology, and the like when she was younger. And it's a good contrast to Noah's position.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like the fact that she's also willing to like start showing a bit of interest in helping Noah out and starting to understand like his side, while also understanding the Autobot side too.
Exactly.
Yeah, she's very conflicted about this, especially when like all she's done is just like discover these secret messages from like the hieroglyphs and the Maximal logo.
Yeah, translating everything and all.
I will say this though, just to be brief. Apparently people are saying that there's like an uproar or like disappointment or people being upset about the main cast of humans being like non-white, but I don't think I've seen that thing before. I don't think I've seen any criticism like that from what I've seen.
The only time I've seen that brought up is when you have characters that are like that and they're bland as hell, like Little Mermaid. Thankfully, they don't feel bland as hell, so I could care less as to what their race is.
Yeah, they just feel like any person you'd find in Brooklyn, except
exactly
they both met robots in disguise. I wish I could meet robots in disguise. As for the other human characters, well, there was one that is involved in a different Hasbro IP, but we'll get to him in a moment.
Yes.
As for the story, I think it's a pretty good one. It's pretty much like another mix between 90s like action movies with a hint of buddy cop in it, Indiana Jones inspired adventure, which I'd say is better than what we're getting with Dial of Destiny.
That is gonna bomb.
And there's also a good mix between, taking some influence from comic book movies, but the good elements from comic book movies, in a sense, the world-ending thing. Like Scourge in a way kind of reminded me of Steppenwolf from Zack Snyder's Justice League, whereas when he had his face revealed from his mask being kicked off, it kind of reminded me of Ultron from the MCU.
Yeah, in a way.
But I will say that the story itself is a good one. It's a great mix between like the action, the adventure, the human development, the bond between robot and human. And of course, who can also forget the fact that it's, once again, reminiscent of the good old days.
Exactly.
It's as easy to follow as like the first three movies, I'd say. Maybe not as much as Dark of the Moon because that one's a little more complex.
It is.
It is a shorter movie though, which with Bumblebee I was fine with because there was not as much happening, but I kind of wish this one was as long as the first movie.
Wasn't the first movie also 2 hours?
I'd say it's a little more than 2 hours, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, at least the pacing is good in this one compared to another movie I saw. No disrespect to the Mario movie, but the fact that it was an hour 30 minutes long just kind of felt like the weakest part of the thing itself.
I see.
Yeah. Not a deal breaker, but that's just my sole complaint of the Mario movie. And similarly for Rise of the Beast, just duration being shorter than I like.
Okay.
And the fact that Unicron's involved with the story too, I kind of imagine people would probably say like, oh wait, that's very soon, but I kind of feel like by this point, we're already like 7 movies in. Bringing back Unicron wouldn't be a bad thing.
Yeah, especially after how Transformers 6 got canceled, and that would have featured a lot more Unicron.
at least they're making up for it with the way he's depicted here, and I like the fact that he's said to be from the future, so nothing is really contradicted for continuity. It is kind of amusing that he's going to try and eat what would possibly be his self in the past, but maybe he's trying to free him so they can both like fuck things over, and then they'll fight over who gets to be the one Unicron.
Maybe.
Yeah, like in some ways, I do feel like Rise of the Beast is taking some influence from the canceled stuff that was for TF6. Which, if that's the case, then I'm glad that they're using that right away instead of like just doing a sequel that's more. I don't know what I'd expect Bumblebee 2 to be like, since
Yeah,
like there's so much imagination you could do. I don't mind that they're doing stuff like this. The fact that Unicron is trapped somewhere would probably imply different things, like maybe he's back in his own dimension or time period, or maybe he's like stuck on Earth again.
True.
We can always interpret stuff, but we'll see what gets picked up for the next movie. And speaking of things being set up, we already know that the Autobots are going home, and Noah is going to be involved with a certain group that has been said to have a possible crossover with Transformers, that being G.I. Joe.
A frickin' time.
I'll admit, when I first saw that logo, I wasn't like screaming my ass off, like clapping so hard that it'd probably be a joke in front of Red Letter Media. But I was kind of like thinking to myself, oh, we're finally doing this, I guess. I mean, maybe it's just the fact that neither of us are huge G.I. Joe fans. I mean, I know there's still...
I kind of know G.I. Joe, but...
Yeah. That's how we feel about G.I. Joe. Like, we know it exists, but we're just not invested in it the way we are Transformers.
I will say I was surprised because I was expecting Sector 7.
Honestly, yeah. But I guess by that point, Noah would probably be upset that they're doing something bad at Bumblebee.
Yeah, that's true.
And since we're talking a bit more about Noah, I wanted to talk about his special suit that he got from Mirage during the final battle.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Now, I was like, people were saying that there's going to be some like exosuit that pops up, and I kind of feel like seeing a human get green screened or CG'd onto like something that's very bulky kind of looks a bit mimetic or weird. I mean, it could work sometimes, but I was fearing it'd probably be like Mark Ruffalo and the CGI of the Hulkbuster in 2018 bad.
It was all right. It definitely reminded me of mostly the Japanese series when it came to Pretenders.
Yeah, it does. Combine that with the coloring of the suit being reminiscent of Kicker's jumpsuit in Energon, in addition to the helmet, and it kind of feels like a perfect mashup of ideas. But I will say, though, that like I was expecting it to look so bad it'd probably be laughable, but it's more of a it's kind of funny. It's kind of like adorable funny in a sense. Like he's like, oh, he's cosplaying as his favorite Transformer. That's kind of cute.
Yeah.
But as Mirage would say, don't ask him what part of his body it came from.
Yeah.
In addition to all the stuff that's been going on for the movie, we also got to talk about like this 90s setting, which I like the fact that we're in the 90s instead of just another setting for the 80s.
It's not overly obnoxious either.
Yeah. Like, Bumblebee, much like a lot of other media that's set in the 80s, just feels less like it just so happens to be set in that time period, and more like it's just, like, you ever played a game called Seen It, where, you pretty much watch a clip from the movie and then they put up, like, a question asking you what was said or what was shown?
Yeah.
Like, Bumblebee was always like, look, 80s reference, look, they mentioned E.T., they mentioned GoBots, they mentioned this, it's the 80s, guys, it's good, soy face.
Got the touch.
By contrast, Rise of the Beast is much more subtle with its references, which I can appreciate.
Yeah, you still get some out there ones, like the Power Rangers shirt, those Sonic and Tails.
And even Mario with the Game Boy, but it is kind of weird that it played the NES music or the sound rather than something from Super Mario Land or 1 or 2 because hate to sound like a Nintendo YouTuber, but actually the game wouldn't actually have any release on the Game Boy until 1999's Game Boy Color release of Super Mario Bros. Deluxe. Oh my god, Nintendo YouTubers are so weird.
No kidding.
But yeah, it was pretty good to see that the 90s references are like much more subtle. I kind of feel like it's the music that gets more of the attention, which, hey, I can appreciate.
That's true.
It's pretty good 90s rap that we got. And I also like can't complain about the fact that we end the movie with Notorious Big. It's kind of like poetic in a way. You know, we begin the promotion of the movie with a remix of one of his songs, and then we get one of his other songs as part of the credits. As for the background music, it doesn't involve Steve Jablonsky. Well, for the most part it doesn't, but he is back in a sense. But I will say that the more I hear, I'll probably like it more and more because it's very close to the quality of the music Jablonsky puts in his films.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, there's so many tracks we can remember from the previous movies. Even The Last Night, as shitty as that movie was, had a good soundtrack.
Yeah.
By contrast, I don't remember any of the music from Bumblebee that much.
Aside from the touch.
Yeah, aside from the touch and Don't You Forget About Me. So yeah, like, it's good to see that in addition to the 90s rap getting some spotlight, the background music is good, and also bonus points for bringing back Arrival to Earth and remixing a bit of Calling All Autobots.
Yeah.
But with all this said, we got to think about what they'll possibly do for the future of Transformers movies. I mean, we're now finally
we've got that animated one coming out.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like a bad idea, but I don't know if I have the interest that I got with Rise of the Beast for the animated film because, well, it's in its early stages. We don't know what it's going to be like, but if it's good, it's good. If not, then pass on it.
Let's just wait until the trailers pop up or we get more information. All we have is voice actors.
Yeah. I kind of have a feeling that it'll possibly be in some ways similar to Mutant Mayhem for TMNT.
What you mean, into the Turtleverse?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't hate the movie itself. I mean, like, I don't have any major opinion on it. I just don't have, like, as much interest as I do past lore. The voices are probably, like, the thing that I don't like that much because...
The voices are terrible.
Yeah, they kind of remind me a bit of, like, Gumball voicing the Turtles, but I think at least there it makes sense for if Gumball is just parodying the Turtles.
It's not even the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's the prepubescent Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. But before we get off topic, like... before we even get off topic with, like, Ninja Turtles, Turtle Power, by the way, there's also the fact that now Bonaventura is finally getting his wet dream of getting G.I. Joe involved with Transformers.
Yeah.
I don't mind, honestly. Like, then again, we already got G.I. Joes.
Yeah.
You know,
they've done crossovers before. It's just, for the longest time, Hasbro said that there would be a G.I. Joe Transformers movie crossover at some point. This has been going on since at least Dark of the Moon. You know, we just waited. I didn't think it would happen, personally.
I just kind of feel like, you know, with the military's involvement for at least the original trilogy, it's like the Joes already exist. And what were the G.I. Joes doing in their own movies? Copying Mega Man. Like, I kind of feel like now they're trying to retcon Rise of Cobra and Retaliation into the live-action movie series. Maybe that'll probably explain why they get
pretend they don't exist.
Well, the Autobots can pretend they don't exist, but I have a bad feeling that Hasbro and Perma are going to be like, oh, you know that suit that Noah had? That was the basis for the suits that the G.I. Joes wear in Rise of Cobras.
Oh, God. I remember seeing those suits. I'm like, how the fuck is this G.I. Joe? Like, again, I don't follow G.I. Joe, so I don't know if they ever had, like, enhanced Iron Man-looking suits, but I don't get it.
It just
Also,
like
Joseph Gordon-Levitt was Cobra Commander.
it was like so bad. I just like I just try to pretend that Magic Cobra doesn't exist.
Frank, it's like, here's the thing. Who cares?
If you're gonna do G.I. Joe for a third time, at least try and have them like go somewhere else before 2007. With all that said, though, Rise of the Beast was perfect from start to finish, and considering the fact that we've had to wait like 5 to 6 years for another Transformers movie to pop up, especially after both like the atrocity of the last night and how fucking plain Bumblebee was, this one takes us back to the good old days.
Mm-hmm.
The pre-Age of Extinction era of movies when things felt super exciting and there was a lot of creativity involved and everyone was happy.
Hell yeah.
And in some ways I kind of feel like this will be, the last piece of good TF media for a while because we already mentioned the fact that we don't know what they're going to do with future movies, whether it's the animated one or the G.I. Joe crossover. Animation-wise, Earthspark is there, but I lost interest.
Who cares about Earthspark?
I don't. And as for the comics, like apparently Image Comics is there to possibly take up the license, but we don't know what's going to happen next. I just hope that in terms of comics, like I hope that they at least try and do something new. Kind of like what they were intending to do with IDW, but maybe not do another G1 sub-universe.
Yeah.
But regardless of what the future has to offer for the franchise, I'll at least say that Rise of the Beast is a must-watch for any Transformers fan. Well,
Yes.
Unless you're one of the people that's upset that your theory didn't go well, but hey, we didn't make the theories.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get this movie on DVD, and I can't wait to finally catch up with the rest of the mainline Rise of the Beast stuff, and then get the Studio Series iterations too. It feels good to get that like Transformers movie itch that was missing these past few years in terms of new release.
Woo!
I want to thank you for stopping by and making this video.
Anytime.
So whether you want to call this a movie review or a Justice podcasting, which probably still dormant even to this day, I want to thank you all for stopping by, watching this video from start to finish. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And whatever happens with your opinions on the movie, please keep it civil. And more importantly, remember that the last night sucks ass. And Bumblebee's bit too. See you next time!